It's Kris and Caroline Stanbury's Not So Epic podcast.
We're back, Kris and Caroline Stanbury, Not So Epic podcast. You were late.
Woo! Morning, Kris. Always lovely to see you.
Did you get your computer fixed? You were 15 minutes late. I was waiting for you.
I did text you. I said, think of me in traffic. Like the good old days.
Yeah, I know. It's like, and instead of waiting for you, I'm waiting for you to connect to Zoom. It's the same.
We had a update, Kris. We had a technical issue here. Didn't even really get to do a full face. Everybody, my quarantine hack is if you are in a hurry, well, not in a hurry, but you can't do your own hair and makeup, just put a big lip on and smile. There you go.
I thought you had your hair and makeup done professionally today. Like it looks next level. Was that just you?
That's just me, Kris. I know. I may not actually need a glam squad after this.
Oh, don't say that. That's going to hurt.
Someone's getting hair back.
How big does that rat grow?
That's it.
The rat, that's how big he grows.
Yes, and don't be rude. How do you like me to come and call one of your rat? So rude. Close your ears. He can't hear you anyway.
What's his name?
Are you serious, Kris?
Yeah,
I don't know. What are your children's names? I can't possibly remember. I don't know. The one with the long hair, the one with the fluffier hair. You know, what are they called? No.
You're talking about the dog.
I know. And part of my family.
Okay, what are my dog's names?
There's a white one.
What an absolute, you moron. You're telling me that I don't know your dog's names, yet you don't know mine.
I know, but mine's more important.
I'm going to call yours. Yours is called Splinter. Do you know Splinter? No,
it's called Taz.
Splinter is from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It was the rats. It looked very similar.
Oh, bless. Don't listen to Mr. Reed. He's woken up the wrong side of the bed. Yes, he's so rude.
Have I? How are you? Everything cool?
Everything's good. We just did another, our second COVID test today. So we've got 2 days in the house before we go.
Why are you doing COVID? Is someone feeling ill or is there something going on?
No one's feeling ill. I'll tell you why. Well, because my youngest son, one of his friends, has just been diagnosed with this. I just want to check. Yeah. And
what were they playing at your house?
They saw them about a week ago, yeah. But that's Aaron, but he's fine. I don't know. So I decided to do it again. But I kind of feel like everybody has their own responsibilities as well. Like, I mean, my daughter, when I was actually, this is an interesting, I was out at the beach yesterday and I got an angry mother calling me or texting me going, I'm not angry, but sort of like, you guys should self-isolate. I only found out last night that Aaron had been in touch with somebody that had it. And, but he seems fine, but let's see. So I called someone, they were here this morning, and then you have 2 days. But she's like, I suggest you all self-isolate, and I have a sick mother. And I said, first of all, I was on the beach, had no idea that she was at the house, had no idea, I'm like, no one called me to ask if your daughter could come to my house. You didn't call Melissa, you didn't call me, and I know you have a sick mother. And if you have a sick mother, it's your responsibility to keep your family in.
Yeah,
My responsibility, my family, and I can be held responsible for your daughter making plans with my daughter that I had absolutely no. And I'm a public figure. You can see very well that I've been out and about, even if it wasn't my son who'd come into contact with it at some point. I could have. If you've got a sick mother, I've been to the supermarket. I've been, to the beach. I'm a public. If you look at my Instagram, you see now. I within the law, I've done exactly what everyone else is doing. I've seen friends in, that I knew, but I mean, that's my choice. So that kind of irritated me last night at 1:30 at night when I got an essay of like, this. I'm like, I'm sorry. I said, I'm sorry about your mother, but at this point, then you shouldn't have let your daughter out.
Agreed. I think it's everyone needs to look after their families, but I mean, obviously, everyone. Yeah, I mean, and what I mean by that is, I'm sure by you now knowing that there is someone that was possibly has the virus, has been in contact with you, you are now going to self isolate yourself.
And
You're not going to have people come
my
over.
responsibility, absolutely, not because you told me to, but because that's, as a responsible adult, that's what I'm doing. But I only found out last night, and you know, as it happens, it's one, you know, the one little boy there having their family tested, and again, you know, I'm not angry with that mother. We all took decisions. I took the decision to let my son out. You know, we've all been tested before, you know, because my ex-husband had it, as you know. So we all got tested then. So I'm doing it again now. I've just done it, and I will keep my kids in. It's 2 days. But again, there's a group of us mothers that have seen each other all the way through and that feel comfortable with each other, and they all know that too now. And, you know, if we've all got it, we've got it together, and that's it. We'll just isolate again together. But I'm not, you know, I don't like this thing of putting it onto somebody else. You can't do that. You know, I can only be responsible for so much of my family.
Yeah.
And that's it. You know, like you are with yours. There's no way in hell you were letting me through your door. That's up to you. You know what I mean? And
Well, I'm still. I'm getting calls now from like my mates and people that own gyms and like, Kris, come and have a workout with me. Kris, do you want to get your laser hair removal done? I'm like, I ain't going anywhere, man. Like we, at this stage when we're recording this, we're still doing 700, 800 cases a day. Like, I just think to myself, I'm happy. I've done 2 months, 2.5 months like this. I can do another 2.5 months like this as long as I can go to work. I'm still going to the malls when I've got to. I went to the beach over the weekend. The beach was beautiful. It wasn't too busy. I went for a swim.
Like, you know, I feel comfortable. I wear the masks. You have the sanitizers. We're all taking precautions. But at the end of the day, you know, I can get it from a package that comes through the door. And as I said, I won't be, there's only so much responsibility that I can take within my own home. I will not be held responsible for someone else's child that never called me to say, "May come over." You know,
if my mother was living with me and I knew that she was sick, I would make sure that my kids would not go to another family. I would be like, sorry, kids. Even now, I touch wood, I don't have anyone sick in our household, but my kids aren't seeing anyone.
I got a text message last night at 1:30 in the morning saying she said that her daughter said that we had all isolated. That's why she let her all over. I said, well, I suggest if it's that serious, in the next time you call myself or my nanny and ask whether that's true. I can't help it if 14-year-old girls lie to you. You know.
Yeah, that's exactly. It's not your responsibility for us. If my daughter organized to go to a friend's house, I'd be on the phone to the parents. Hey, just checking up.
Sick mother, you know, in the house. We haven't been out for however long. Do you mind? You know, have you been doing the same? That's fine. I would have told her right there and then. We've all been out, all of us. I've been to a restaurant. I've been to the beach. And I said, you know, again, Kris, I'm super public. It's on here. It takes 2 minutes to check. Have I isolated? No, not since the first time.
Are you nervous now with the results?
I mean, if I have it, I'll just stay in. No big deal.
I feel like you're not scared of this virus. I feel like you just think if I have it, I'll just beat it and I'll move on with my life. There's no fear of like, it could take
I don't have old family members here. I don't have, I'm not really scared of it because I know so many people that have recovered from it. So I really believe, you know, obviously, I just don't want to be crippled by something like this. I've told you before, I think that the economy, like, you know, my friend is opening his restaurant on Friday. Tomorrow, Wednesday, I know you had Joey on, which he was really appreciative. And then on Friday, I've got Yevgeny's opening of Shanghai Me. You know, I want to support the economy here. I know that we have different views and everything else, but I really feel that it has to continue or we will collapse. And that, you know, reading that 70% of businesses in this country won't return, it for me is just, it's not a big enough economy as it is. You know, you can't have that. So many of my friends are crippled with fear here. Because if they're not being paid, they can't pay their rents, they have to leave the country. You know, being fired means you can't wait it out here. You have to leave the country. You've got no residency here, a visa, it works like that. And people are genuinely leaving in droves, which isn't good for any of us, you know. So I don't know, you know, and quite frankly, leaving the country means getting on a plane. I think the travel and all this kind of stuff, I'm not scared about going to the beach. I feel like it's open air. I feel like as long as I take my own precautions with gloves and all these things, I carry sanitizer around with me, that's all I can do. I have 3 children. They're little boys. I cannot lock them up for the rest of their lives. I cannot. They cannot not see any friends. I'm not angry with this mother at all. She could have, you know, it's not her fault. It just happens. It happens. What am I going to do? You know, I'm just going to take.
Are they now, they're obviously waiting for you to get your results, and then you're going to let them know and say, hey, we've got a clear household, hopefully.
They've done theirs. I'm going to do mine. And then I'm going to call that other mother that called me up last night, even though I don't want to, and say, I've got mine, just so you know, so that she, I mean, I do feel, she said, you guys should go and do it. Well, she could go do it too. I've done it anyway. So I've got 48 hours. It's fine. No big deal. The kids are going to their dads. It is what it is. But anyway, in the meantime, on top of all this, let's discuss what the fuck is going on in the world.
Yeah, pretty sad. Again, as we sit here and do this, there's riots happening right now across America. It's horrible. What a horrible scene. It's depressing. I went to bed. You know, it takes a lot to get me down, and I was just, even though I know we'll get through this, and I think it's important that it's happening. Don't get me wrong. I think, you know, and I say the assassination somewhat of George Floyd. I don't think it's right what happened, but the reaction now that's going on as well, it needed to happen. Does the looting need to happen? I don't believe so. Do the protests needs to happen? 100%. Do celebrities and everyone have to talk about it? 100%. But I don't believe the stores. One of my friends owns a store on Melrose in LA, Daniel Patrick, and I messaged him last night. I messaged him. I said, "Did they get you?" And he goes, "Yeah, they destroyed it." So, like, you know, we're coming out of this coronavirus, already struggling, and now your shop has been completely just smashed up and all your stock stolen. Like, that is what I don't agree with. And looking into it even more, it's the people that are doing this are the people that don't even care about what's going on. I feel these are just people.
They're total opportunists, and that's the difference. You know, I agree with everything that happened. Those horrible policemen should be prosecuted. They should go to jail. Watching that video was hugely traumatic and disturbing for anyone involved. You know, coming out of COVID, the fires in Los Angeles, everything that's gone on, you know, I really felt that we were getting to a place in the world that, you know, that we were all helping each other out and feeling this sense of, like, you know, unity. And watching that again, and actually somebody posted the other day, there was that terrible one, I can't remember when it was, like a year before or half a year before, of that poor little girl, young girl, I think she was like mid-20s, black girl that was kicked by the policeman. Did you ever see that? And beaten in the face?
Yeah, I did. There's probably been hundreds of cases that we don't see, but the ones that we've seen on film, there's been 4 or 5 really big ones, which have sort of, everyone has not turned a blind eye to, but like, it's just happened and we've moved on.
No, that was really shocking too, and that's come up again. And I mean, that should just, we all have young daughters, and this huge man was on top of her, just beating her in the face. I've never seen anything like it. And what happened to him, you know, he was just, and also the proportion of it, to trying to pay with a fake banknote for $20 to death. I mean, you can't really comprehend it, can you? And then actually, a friend of mine, Vaz Morgan, he posted something about the difference between when the boy that killed 20 in the mass shootings, he was handcuffed, stood up, given water, you know, and he just killed 20 people in a shopping mall. And nothing like this. And, like, you know, it's just shocking. Morgan Stewart posted it as well, saying, you know, what do you want, a steak and fries as well, while we're interviewing you. It's unbelievable, the difference. So I absolutely understand the anger, but I also think that the protests are definitely needed, and it was out of, but I think the looting and everything else has just made it a moot point. You know, it's making it really hard to listen to the real problem, because it's just so awful what's going on and so wrong. You know, violence doesn't solve violence.
Kevin Hart put up on his Instagram, which was so true. He said, these protesting and the looting is now, the media is going to focus on the looting and not why we're protesting, which I think is important, because, you know, the reason why this is all happening is because, I mean, those officers are barbaric, man. Like, you know, I try to put myself in other people's positions. I think to myself, if I was a policeman, like, I couldn't do that. Like, I couldn't watch someone, no matter what they did. You have a duty of care. You have a responsibility. I received an email today on my radio show account, and it's from a guy, and I won't mention his name, but he's basically saying, how can you talk about in sticking up for George Floyd when he pleaded guilty to robbery? Another suspect. He has been seen with money, drugs in his home, having guns at home. He wasn't a nice man. I haven't replied to him via the email, but you know what we said was, it doesn't matter what the guy did. You don't have, and they don't have the authority, whilst he is being absolutely cooperative, to kill them. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't kill a man who's being cooperative. Now, if George Floyd had turned around and had shot 3 people, yet he was being arrested and he had his hands behind his back, and you would put him in handcuffs, you'd lift him up, you'd throw him in the car, you'd take him to jail, and he'd get his time, right? But the fact that he was not doing anything, and you still remain there for 8 minutes and 45 seconds, it just, you know, I think something's going to change. It has to. What's frustrating is that, you know, Trump puts out on his Twitter about, if there's looting, there'll be shooting. Like, it's sort of like, man, dude, like, come on. You know, I know how it's weird growing up in Australia as a Lebanese guy. Like, the Lebanese in Australia, especially like 10 years ago, we were looked at as the troublemakers, the drug dealers, the gangsters. So, like, I know the feeling of being pulled over 10 times in 1 month for a random breath test. Like, that would just be an ongoing thing for me, as I would drive my little...
Jem gets it every time he goes to the airport. He's on that random checklist. Habib, I mean, you know, every single time.
Like, just driving. I remember just driving as a you know, early 20s in Sydney. Yeah, I'd be pulled over by cops all the time. They were respectful and everything, and they will just tell you, we're here for a random breath test, but you know you're not. You're in a stereotype of what possibly they're looking for, right? So with what's happened, it's horrible. Something needs to change. I don't know how it's going to change, but I'm hoping this noise. I'm loving seeing. I'm trying not to. I don't want to see any more of the bad stuff on social media. What I'm loving seeing is, like, there's a lot of positivity. I love seeing the videos of the other policemen coming out now saying, "We're with you. We are." I saw one police officer. He was the sergeant. I forget what county it was, but he just basically said, "I've told all my officers to put their guns down and their weapons away. We aren't here to fight. We're here to march with you." And it was just this really cool scene, which gave me goosebumps. And I was like, this is what we need, the solidarity, because there are amazing cops out there. You know, like
Snoop Dogg posted one of a policeman that was caught away from his precinct and by himself, and there was just a ring of black men around him protecting him from all the other protesters, which was just amazing. Such a nice scene. But I do feel that, you know, look, I understand that a lot of, in these situations, and they're high octane situations that, you know, you and I obviously go to an office job, and there are policemen that that are sort of desensitized, if it were. It's like a doctor's office, isn't it? You see just so much, and you don't know when you pull someone over if it's you or someone that's got 2 seconds and does have a gun, right? So there are police officers that they put themselves in very, very dangerous situations every day, and every day must be this giant adrenaline kick. You know, so there's a fine line too with what we ask of them and these kind of men who have made it a mission in a way to sort of, who are, you know, members of groups like KKK, which they just found, I think, another police officer, and that are really racist and are bad policemen, but there are also policemen that have, you know, they're human. There are some that have made mistakes, simple mistakes as well. So it's a very different situation, since none of us have to go to work and pull out a handgun on anyone. How you feel every day in those sort of situations where it's a life and death thing. So, you know, again, I'm not relating that to what these men did at all. But because, as you said, he was not resisting arrest. He was, you know, playing ball, and he was, you know, he was just trying to breathe. There was another, I watch a lot of documentaries on Netflix, actually. There's one called When They See Us. Have you seen it?
No.
God, Kris. It's just horrific. Two young black men, it's a true story, in New York. I've got to remember, I think they got done for stealing a backpack or something when they were like 6 or 8.
Seen it. Yeah, I did see it, and they're jailed for years, like crazy. It was like,
5 years or something. 20.
Yeah.
These poor boys. I mean, I can't remember. You know, I've got the world's worst memory. To get the details, so don't quote me on any of this. But it's on Netflix. You must go watch it. And you know, these things, they break your heart. These little boys who were just little boys. You know, that when you see it through the courts, and you see like what these if those have been 2 white children that had gone to school and done that would never have happened. So I understand people's anger and frustration, and you know, it does need to change. Again, as you said, like I'm watching the scenes from all my friends' windows in Los Angeles, and I just can't quite believe what's going on. As you said, looting, they've looting Gucci and taking cars out of Mercedes and things like that. It's just so sad, because the economy is already crippled, and they don't understand what they are actually doing is ruining life for themselves.
Yeah.
You know, there's such a big, the one thing that I love about Dubai is that we don't have this giant rich poor divide. You know, it's not so everybody has some sort of a job. There's not this huge I mean, correct me if I'm not wrong, but I've never seen a homeless person yet. Don't you have to have jobs here to stay in the country?
Yeah, I mean listen, there is a poor rich divide though. There are people
but people have jobs.
Yes, to be in this country you must have somewhat of an income. Now, there are circumstances like when we're going through COVID-19 that's now affected, because obviously you can't hold everyone accountable for work right now because of what the economy is doing. But yeah, no, I know what you're saying. I mean, I don't. These guys who are looting and just taking cars and bags and all that, they don't care. They don't care about their future. They're not thinking that far ahead. They're just like, I can cash in right now, store these bags, store these pieces of art, and you know, sell them later on and just make some cold hard cash out of it. But it's disgraceful just to see it. Like, you know, I saw the footage of the 2 white girls that were spray painting Black Lives Matter, right? And then this African American woman, she went up and she said, "What are you doing?" She goes, "I don't want you spray painting that on the wall. I don't even want to be spray painting it on the wall. I'm not here to do that. I'm here to protest peacefully and get my word out." And she goes, "I don't want you to do it." And they were like, "What do you mean?" And it was this weird argument of like these white women, and it's weird. And you know, the hardest thing is my daughters yesterday, you know, they're 10 and 8. And my 8-year-old said, "Daddy, what is racism exactly? What does it mean?" I'm like, "Oof, a good question." Like, and so now I'm sitting there explaining to them like about equality and how do people judge other people, you know, and the biggest quote is racism. You're not born racist. You actually taught it. So it's in the household. It's where you've grown up. It's who you've grown up around that will teach you racism, you know?
What's who you grew up around? I mean, you know, I really notice it here. What I thought was so amazing about the schools here is that you have every race and color in one school. Yeah. And my children are having, you know, lessons with Indian, Chinese, English, you know, everything, which is so amazing. And in England, you know, we just didn't have that. They weren't in contact with different races in their own schools. It was bizarre. And I never noticed until I really got here, because they hadn't understood. And now, you know, that they've asked me the same questions. It's a really difficult question to answer. And there's certain words in songs that we all know, I'm not going to say, that, you know, the kids sing along to, and they, you know, that is okay for a black person to say and not for a white person to say, and if they say it, and how do you explain to the children when it's in their favorite songs? And it's really a difficult thing to do, you know, to explain all this to them. And that now with COVID as well, you know, that everyone's like, well, came out of China, now I hate the Chinese. You know, it's just a difficult time to navigate all of this, and how to explain that it's not China's fault, you know, how to explain that, you know, all of these kind of things. It's a very, very difficult time. We are really actually going back to some very dangerous times with all of this, because, you know, before what happened to Floyd, we were experiencing it a lot with the Chinese now. I mean, you know, people are really pinning everything that's happened on them. And I have friends that are Chinese and who are scared. You know?
No, I know. There was themes early on in Australia when this all happened of, you know, a couple of just teenagers spitting on these Chinese women. And they were completely Australian. They've been born and raised in Australia, but they look Chinese. They're Chinese, and they're getting spat on. I couldn't believe it. It's just, but again, goes back to how you were brought up and your surroundings. Like, you know, your children.
Education. If they're sat here, they're not in China. They weren't over there themselves. I mean, you know, they're in exactly the same boat as we are. Exactly the same boat as we are. You know,
yeah. It's frustrating to watch. I mean, it is just not a fun time. As we sit here, you know, in June, I just think to myself, I just want this year done. I mean, I want this year done, dusted. I want us to learn. I hope we all come out of it better, as better people. I hope we're thinking about our decisions as we move forward and just get on with it. But
it's getting worse. It's getting worse. That? I don't think we're coming out better people, clearly. Unfortunately, I thought we were coming out better people. I thought everything was changing actually for the better, that we were pausing, we were thinking more, we were more about family, we needed less. And now I see that it's nothing like that.
I just think we need better leaders as well. I mean, just a leader that gets up on I don't know politics in America. I don't even know politics in Australia, but I just know people and how they communicate. And I think communication is so important. I think that is one great tool. And I just think to myself, seeing a leader of a country get on Twitter and say that if there's looting, they'll be shooting, like that for me, I've just gone, what?
It's like the blind leading the blind. It's unbelievable. No, my favorite thing that he ever did was actually tell them to basically consume bleach.
Yeah, I know.
That was my all-time favorite. I didn't say it could, didn't say it would, but if you wanted to.
That's what scares me, man. Like now, if he wasn't the leader of the country, I would just be laughing at it. You know what I mean? You'd be like, ah. But he's the leader. Like, this is the guy that people are looking up to. So many as well. So that's where it's scary for me. Like, I love America, man. Like, you know, my fiance is American. She's from LA. She's Mexican. Like, LA's her home, and it's sort of like, I love it, and I want to go back. But, you know, she came to me just 2 days ago.
Back this summer.
No, I know. We won't be back this year. I know that. But like, she was in tears. She's like, it's so sad to see what's going on in my country. Like, she goes, I feel ashamed. I feel scared. You know, we're calling up her sister and saying, you know, her sister-in-law, and saying, are you all good? How's everything? She's like, yeah, we're just staying inside. We're keeping ourselves at home. And it's not just keeping ourselves at home because of the coronavirus. We're keeping ourselves at home to make sure that we're going to be all right from the looting. And I'm like, whoa, like how weird.
It's actually disgusting. I'm so upset by it. Like, it's just, again, we've had the fires over there. It's just, the whole thing is disgusting, really. It's just so unnecessary. Anyway,
right.
You know,
I guess we take a deep breath. I keep saying to friends of mine, just take it day by day, I guess. But I think it is important, being whatever you are, white, black, brown, whatever it is. Like, I think it's important for us to speak about it as well. You know, being white and being privileged, even just taking a step back and not commenting on it, I feel like that's wrong. I feel like it's our duty also to talk about it, like you and I are talking about it right now, just to make it open. You know, I think celebrities are doing a really good job about it. I think a lot of those celebs are jumping on board and really just not just like putting up a little retweet or a like they're actually giving us their view on it. And I think that's important because they influence so many people as well. Billie Eilish at the age of 17 came out and put something on Twitter and Instagram, which was so amazing. For the age of 17 to think like that. And, you know, with her millions of fans around the world, that's what they need. So I think it's upon everyone who's listening to this to just to take it day by day and have their view and have their say and let people know how they feel about it. I've told people straight out, I ain't putting up with anyone racist. I never have, and I never will. And if I feel it or sense it, you're out. And I will openly tell you as well, like, I'm not afraid to say it, like, that was racist, you know, like, and I think we just need more of that. And hopefully things change and we move on and be better people. Let's see.
I agree. I mean, I agree in this day and time that it should not exist. And, you know, that we can all move on and make a better place. But, you know, again, as I said, I think this is one of the countries that we have every race living together, and even religion now, which is so amazing in this country. I find that incredible. In a country where people used to say that, you know, you couldn't come with all the different religions, everyone's here and we all live together really well. And this should be, I'm really proud of Dubai for everything. You know, in all this time, I have never been so glad to be here. You know, it feels so safe and so looked after. And we do have, you know, as I said, different religions, different races, and we're all living happily together. I don't feel any conflict at all. Do you?
No, it is. I said it the other day. I said to my guys at work, I was like, any country I'd want to be in right now, I'm happy to be here. You know what I mean? Like, even though Sydney, my home, Australia, is pretty good at this situation, this point right now, I'm happy to be here in the UAE and, you know, and do our thing. It's weird. I'm nervous for you. I want these 2 days to quickly hurry up and come and go. So I don't know if you've got the virus.
Are you nervous for me or are you nervous for you?
I'm not nervous for me. I ain't seen you.
Will you do a podcast with someone COVID?
Yeah, 100%. We're gonna do it anyway. But if you've got it, we're gonna film this thing. Okay. I can just imagine you like still. I don't want to joke about it, but I could imagine you not feeling well, but still got glammed up. You know, like I'm still gonna look.
Of course, for all of you out there watching, I'm never doing this without my glam. And even if I have to sweat buckets through it, I'll do it. Let's do it. It's fine. Watch me.
Well, good luck. We're wrapping it up. Get us on Instagram. Do what you got to do. Kris Fade, Caroline Stanbury's Not So Epic podcast. Good chat, real chat, and we'll catch you next week.
Bye.
It's Kris Fade and Caroline Stanbury's Not So Epic podcast.